Hello, friends, and thank you for tuning in to our broadcast today. In a few moments, we're going to take you into a live session where Bishop Wayne was teaching a message designed to feed your faith and to elevate your understanding. We invite you to join in as if you were here in person and to light up the chat box with your comments and confirmations. This hour of power is your time to recharge, to renew, and even to reset your mind for a life of purpose, passion, and power. At the end of this message, we have an important announcement for you. So do stay tuned. But now let's go into the hour of power with Bishop Wayne Malcolm.
And so what we're going to cover tonight is, number one, discovering the divinity within your humanity. I'm going to talk about spiritual language. I'm going to talk about spiritual dreams and visions, symbols, metaphors, and allegories, interpreting dreams, and testing conclusions. So that's kind of what we're going to try to cover. We're going to cover it within, I guess, the next 40 minutes, and then I'm going to open up for Q&A, answer any questions, help those of you that want to go a bit further with our ministry and what we do. So let's go. Woo! Praise God. Let's go. So Genesis 2, verse 7. Genesis 2, verse 7. I'm going to start with the scripture. And here's what it says. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. One more time. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So what you're looking at now is the tripart, the threefold nature of a human being. So a human being is a tripart being. He is composed of spirit, soul, and body. Spirit, soul, and body. And what we see here in Genesis 2, verse 7, is that man is dust, okay, which is a reference to flesh, with a soul, which is suke, mind, dust or flesh with a mind, which is made alive by the breath or spirit of God. So we have flesh with a mind that is made alive by the spirit or the breath of God. The word breath in the Hebrew is ruach, and it means, and it's the same word translated spirit. So what we see here is three parts to a human being: his spirit, soul, and body. Spirit, soul, and body. His soul is his psyche, his mind, both his conscious and subconscious mind. His body is glorified dust, which is why God said to Adam, "Dust thou art, and to dust you will return." So your body is dust. It is formed. I also want you to notice that there is a difference between the creation and the formation of a man, of a human being. Difference between the creation and the formation of a human being. In Genesis 1, man was created, but in Genesis 2, man is formed from the dust of the ground, which means there's a part of you that God created, and there's a part of you that was formed biologically. Okay? There's a part of you that was created, and there was a part of you that was formed biologically and sociologically. Woo! So what do I mean? I mean that your body was formed by a biological process. Your suke, your mind, your psyche was also formed by a sociological process, meaning that you were exposed to some education, you were exposed to some experiences, and you were exposed to an environment. And all of those things formed the soulish part of you. the part of you that thinks conscious thoughts and that stores subconscious thoughts. So when it comes to the soul, there is a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And these parts of you are formed by your education, your experiences, and your environment. Likewise, your body is formed. But there's a part of you that God created. I want you to notice that the spirit of a human being is the breath of God. God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So the breath of God, and what this suggests is that the spirit of a man didn't come from the dust, from the ground, or from biological processes. The spirit of the man came out of God. The spirit of the man came from God. So there is a part of you that God created. There's a part of you that God considers to be his breath. There's a part of you that is linked to God, that has the DNA of God, the God gene. If you look at this little image I've used here, it's the image used for DNA. And let's read what we said here. The human spirit is the breath of God in the world. Your spiritual nature came from God and is an expression of him. In much the same way as a child inherits genetic information from their parents, we all possess the God gene in our spiritual nature. So a child inherits genetic information from their parents, and in our spiritual nature, which came out of God breathing, in our spiritual nature, we inherit and we possess the God gene. And so let's look at the second paragraph. Finding the divinity within your humanity is the objective of this course. Woo! I'm going to say it again. Finding the divinity that is within your humanity is the objective of this course. And it's about realizing that there is a part of you that God made. Society didn't make it. Biology didn't make it. God made it. And God made it in his image and likeness. God made it a reflection of himself. And this part of you that God made is the divinity within your humanity. And what my objective in the course on spiritual intelligence in the workplace, and I'm specifically applying spiritual intelligence to your professional life, to your working life, to your business life, to your economic prospects and prosperity. I'm applying spiritual intelligence to that because I think that's the challenge we're facing in the world today. I think the world is on a particular trajectory to make the poor poorer and the rich richer. And I think the gulf between the rich and the poor is getting wider. And I think we will see various measures come into place at a political level and various mechanisms at an economic level that make it very difficult for the poor to cross that barrier. And so I'm applying spiritual intelligence to the workplace in the course, but it's equally applicable to any area of your life, your personal life, your professional life. What you want to do is find the divinity within your humanity, the part of you that God made, the part of you that God created, which is your spiritual essence, the part of you that came out of God, which is your core, which is who you really are. Because you are a spirit, you have a soul, you live in a body. One more time, you are a spirit, you have a soul, you live in a body. And once you're able to find the divinity within your humanity, you're going to realize that there's a part of you that is brilliant and boundless, that is a creative genius. Realizing that there is a brilliant and boundless creative genius within you, that you already possess everything you will ever need in order to manifest anything you have ever dreamed. I love that statement. You already possess everything you will ever need in order to manifest anything you have ever dreamed. You already know what to do, and you already know how to do it, how to get it done. Why am I saying this with such conviction and passion? I'm saying it because the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. There's a part of you that was formed, and there's a part of you that came out of God. And that part of you that came out of God reflects God. It is spiritually intelligent. It is brilliant. It is boundless. It is competent. It is capable. And, every now and again, we actually tap into that side of ourselves. We even shock ourselves. You give a speech and like, wow, that was actually good. You answer a question and like, wow, that was profound. You make a decision and like, that was a really good decision. Or you start to feel confident and courageous and energetic and strong. And it might not last a long time, but you've at least tapped into that side of yourself that God made. And I begin to think, well, what if I could locate that place and actually live in that place and actually walk in that place and actually enjoy and actually, operate in that place out of that spiritual intelligence? What if my spirit man, my inner man, were in charge? And I guess that's really what this course is about. So I want to talk about spiritual language now, spiritual language. And I want to explain that your spiritual essence, your spirit man, the part that God created, communicates with the part that was formed, that is your soul, your suke, your psyche, which was formed through education, experiences, and environment. Your spiritual man communicates with your soul in a particular language. Now, it is not just this language. This is the part we're dealing with tonight. There are other ways. And in the manual, I explain exactly how your spirit sends messages and signals to your conscious mind. But there's a language, there's a spiritual language. And any student of the Bible is going to begin to see he's right. This is the language of the language of the spiritual world. And the language I've put here is parable, symbol, and metaphor. Parable, symbol, and metaphor. Parable, symbol, and metaphor. Now, someone said, oh my gosh, is that really the language? That's the language. And, you'll find in Joel's prophecy, he says the Spirit will be poured out on all flesh. Then he talks about dreams and visions. You actually begin to study the Bible, you're going to see how much dreams and visions were part of the understanding, the theology, and even the hermeneutic. And when I say hermeneutic, the word hermeneutic means the rules for interpreting text. So when things were said to people, they had rules by which they interpreted them. When people saw things, they had rules by which they interpreted them. What you're going to begin to notice is that there is a language running from Genesis right through Revelation. You're going to find that dreams and visions come up in the patriarchal period. They come up in the Levitical period. They come up in the they come up in the prophetic period very strongly, because most of the prophets were their actual name, they were seers. The word prophet actually meant a seer, someone who saw visions and then spoke the word of the Lord from their vision. You'll remember Habakkuk was told, write the vision and make it plain, because he was seeing things, and what they were writing is things they were seeing. Even Genesis 1 to 12. Let me shock somebody right now. Genesis 1 to 11. Okay. most scholars accept that Moses is the author of the Genesis. Moses is the author of the Genesis, but Moses was not present in the Genesis. And most scholars believe that Moses is documenting a vision. In the beginning, God created heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved on the face of the waters, and God said. Moses was not there, so he saw it in a vision. And we know that when Moses was hidden in the cleft of the rock, he had said to God, I want to see your glory. And God effectively said, well, that's going to be a bit too much for you, my son. And he said, well, he said, I'm going to show you my hind parts, my back parts. What does God mean by his back parts? He means, I will show you my history. I will show you my history. I will show you history from my perspective. And so what Moses saw in the cleft of the rock was history from God's perspective. And he was writing vision, which is why when people try to interpret Genesis 1-11 literally, they actually miss profound allegory, metaphors, parallels, parables. Now, I'm not here saying it's not to be literally understood. I am saying that because it is vision, it is picture language, that we can explore it, we can extract from it, because no doubt thousands of years of human years are being jumped over, and there is a summary of how the world came into being, how the universe came into being, how nations came into being, how ethnic groups came into being, and the origin of the people of faith and the promise of redemption. All of these things are being summarized in 11 chapters. How do you do that? Because a picture paints 1,000 words. A picture paints 1,000 words. So there's spiritual language. It's in the origins. It's in the patriarchal period. It's in the Levitical period. It's among the prophets, and it's definitely all over the New Testament. All over the New Testament. So, for example, we know that the birth of Jesus Christ involved various dreams and visions, to give instruction and to give warnings and to alert and to give direction. We also know that Paul, who really, Paul, I mean, if we had time to talk about Paul was not like the apostles. You know, Paul became an apostle through dramatic conversion, but he also spent 3 years in Arabia, and he spent time alone with God, and he was visited with visions. And he talks about being caught up to the third heaven and seeing things that were illegal for him to utter. And so Paul got his gospel by revelation. He said, I wasn't taught it. I got it by revelation. Get to the last book of the Bible, the whole thing is written in picture language. Revelation, the book of Revelation, the whole thing is prophetic picture language. You got the beast coming out of the sea, the beast coming out of the earth. You got a dragon in the sky. You've got a woman in the sky. You've got all of this picture language. So it's not hard for a Bible scholar to understand that spiritual language involves parable, symbol, and metaphor. A parable is a parallel. A parable is a parallel, a natural story with spiritual parallels. So you tell a story, and it is a parallel to a spiritual truth. Symbols, a physical representation of a spiritual truth. So something may have symbolic meaning. It means that, you know, it is a physical thing, a practice, a person, a place. It's physical, but it has symbolic meaning in that it represents a spiritual truth. And then there's metaphor. Metaphor is very powerful. Metaphor compares two things by talking about one thing and saying it is like another. Okay, I guess this is the like as principle. And again, if we had time, we'd go into that. The good news is that my my manual actually documents all of this and explains it all so that you not only understand it, but you can explain it to someone else. So spiritual language. So I want us to notice that elements, fire, water, wind, earth, wind, fire, elements, minerals, gold, silver, jewels, colors, numbers, places, vegetation, marine life, the sea, the land, the sky, furniture, utensils, animals, and more. Are all symbolic metaphors and parallels used to communicate spiritual truths. So when you're reading the Bible, the minute you understand that everything, every physical thing has symbolic meanings, they are metaphors or parallels used to communicate spiritual truths. Then you're understanding the language, the spiritual language, the language by which your spiritual essence, which is the breath of God, which came out of God, which has the God gene, the God DNA, that part of you will speak to you in by way of parallels, symbols, and metaphors. Will speak to you by way of parallel, metaphor, and symbols, and can take virtually anything and it have another meaning. So we're going to start with the first dream, okay, which is Pharaoh's butler. One of Joseph's dreams. And we're not going to do all of Joseph's dreams. I did say I'm going to talk about the wisdom of Joseph. We're going to actually look in some detail at least 3 of his dreams. So if you're excited, write something in the chat box. Yes, that's blessing me. I'm getting stuff right now. This is good stuff. We're really going somewhere. It's going to be profound. Pharaoh's butler. Here, let's read this. Genesis 40, verse 9 to 14. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was set before me, and in the vine there were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into the Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup to Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto him, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head and restore thee unto thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand after the former manner when thou wast his butler. But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. Woo! All right. So that's the dream. And I do encourage you to kind of revisit the dream, look over the dream, because what you're going to notice is the elements that are in the dream. There are elements in the dream. Elements are in the dream. And remember, each of these elements have symbolic meanings. They are metaphors, they are parallels. And if someone's going to interpret a dream, they pretty much need to understand what the elements represent, which is why, this is not a shameless plug, I'm just making it clear, that in my manual, there is an exhaustive list of what the numbers of the Bible, the plants, the everything of all the symbols, it's all documented in the manual. But let's go over to the elements. What are the elements in here? There are numbers in this dream. There are numbers in this dream. Notice, and in the vine were 3 branches. 3 branches. Now, a spiritually intelligent person hears a number and knows that numbers have meanings. Numbers are symbolic. Numbers are parallels. And there's an entire field of study called biblical numerology, in which the numbers of the Bible are explained and their meanings are explained. But there's numbers in this dream. There are plants or vegetation in this dream. There is the vine with its three branches, and it's blossoming and shooting forth. There are persons in the dream. Pharaoh is in the dream, and the butler is in the dream. There are utensils in the dream. The Pharaoh's cup was in my hand. Cups have meanings. Oh, help me now. Cups have meanings. Plates have meanings. And there is wine, and wine has meaning. And if you look at the overall dream, what you are seeing is a very positive outcome. Why? Because there are phrases that speak of the positive: budded, blossomed, ripe. Look at these phrases. And in the vine were three branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters brought forth ripe grapes, and the cup was in my hand. And this language of budding and blossoming and shooting forth basically told Joseph, there will be a positive outcome for you. And that positive outcome has to do with what you've always done, which is being the butler to the Pharaoh. And it is going to happen in 3 days, which is why you saw the 3 branches. That was his interpretation. Because Joseph, when he heard the dream, he wasn't just hearing a story, he was interpreting symbols. He was interpreting symbols. Now, let's look at Pharaoh's baker. Pharaoh's baker. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there was of all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh. And the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days, yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. Woo! Not quite the interpretation the baker was looking for. But what was Joseph hearing? Joseph was interpreting symbols. There were numbers. There was a color, 3 white baskets. There were persons involved, himself and Pharaoh. I was in the dream, and Pharaoh was in the dream. There was food in the dream. Food has meanings. There were birds in the dream, and birds have meanings. There were baskets, and the birds were eating. Now notice Pharaoh. Now I want you to notice that in the butler's dream, Pharaoh drank. In the baker's dream, Pharaoh did not drink. In the baker's dream, Pharaoh did not eat. The birds ate what was on his head. And so Joseph was able to see that this was a bad dream. This was not a good out. There's no good outcome here. Pharaoh doesn't eat your meat, your baked meat anymore. Pharaoh's not eating your stuff anymore. The birds are eating your stuff on your head. And, he was able to interpret the dream based on the meaning of the symbols. Now, in both cases, Joseph was accurate. 3 days later, the butler was restored to his place. 3 days later, the baker was executed by hanging, and the birds ate his flesh, just as Joseph had said. Now, this directly led to giving Joseph an audience with the Pharaoh. So the butler has obviously said to the Pharaoh, who is having troubling dreams, I know a man. He interpreted my dream. It was accurate. He interpreted your baker's dream accurately. He's not a yes man. He's not trying to tell you what you want to hear. He has integrity. He's falsely accused and wrongly incarcerated. He's a good man. And Pharaoh's butler has told Pharaoh about the man, and Pharaoh has demanded an audience with Joseph. Now, let's look at this. I'm just going to read this, and then we'll move into some deeper stuff. Check the time. We're not doing too bad. So here goes. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat the 7 well-favored and fat kine, which were cows. So Pharaoh awoke, and he slept and dreamt the second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, and rank and good, and behold, 7 thin ears and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them, and the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears, and Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. So the thing to notice here are the elements in the dream, because when Joseph is listening to a dream, he is understanding that each element in the dream has symbolic meaning. So in the dream, there are numbers, particularly number 7. There are plants or vegetation, particularly the ears of corn. There is a river. There are animals. There is wind. All of these things have symbolic meanings, and when you put them together, Joseph is able to say, by the wisdom of God, by his spiritual intelligence, that you're going to have 7 good years consumed by 7 bad years. Now, let's notice this. We live in a parallel universe in which all truth is parallel. We live in a parallel universe in which all truth is parallel. One more time. We live in a parallel universe in which all truth is parallel. What does that mean? It means that if something is true in the natural, it has its correlating truth in the spiritual. It is paralleling something that is spiritually true. This is why Jesus taught in parables. He could give this natural story about a natural situation, but it was a parallel truth, because we live, the universe has a dual nature. It is both spiritual and physical, and the physical world is reflecting the spiritual world, as the spiritual world is reflecting the physical world. They look like each other, and therefore it's a parallel universe in which all truth is parallel. So once something becomes true in the natural, it is true in the spiritual. And that's why you can tell a parable, you can tell a story. And effectively, Pharaoh's dream was a parable. It was effectively a parable. It was a parallel. It was a story in terms of the fat cows eating the thin cows eating the fat cows, the thin ears of corn eating the full ears of corn. That's a story, but the story has symbolic, metaphoric, allegoric, and prophetic meaning. So let's go to dreams. Let's go to dreams. Give me a few more minutes. There are natural dreams and there are spiritual dreams. There are natural dreams and there are spiritual dreams. So natural dreams. Most dreams come from the subconscious mind, right? So in the soulish part of you, you have a conscious mind with which you think conscious thoughts, and then you have a subconscious mind with which you store all of your experiences, in which you store all of your experiences. Most natural dreams come from the subconscious mind, which is searching for links and connections and relationships between your past, present, and your anticipated future. So what your brain is doing at night is looking for links between what's happened today, what happened yesterday, and what you think might happen tomorrow, what you're anticipating for tomorrow. These dreams are coming out of your subconscious mind, which is searching for links, connections, and relationships. And I want to say something about your anticipated future. So if you anticipate bad in your future, you'll start having bad dreams. If you anticipate good in your future, you'll start having good dreams. And don't be like, oh, the good dreams are from God and the bad dreams are from the devil. No, both of them are from your subconscious mind. Because all your subconscious mind is doing is looking for links, relationships, and associations between your present, your past, and your anticipated future. So what you anticipate for the future is pretty much going to show up in your dreams. What you think about the past is going to show up in your dreams. What you are concerned about in the present is going to show up in your dreams, because your subconscious is looking for those links. Those are natural dreams. And let me tell you how you know they're natural, because you cannot even remember them when you wake up. You can't remember them. 98% of them are forgotten when you wake up. You wake up and you know you had a bad dream or a good dream, but you can't remember the details of the dream. You couldn't really explain the dream to anyone. Why? Because that dream has come from your subconscious mind searching for links and connections and associations. But then there is something called spiritual dreams. Not as often, quite rare, not every day, not every week, not every month. You may only get 2 spiritual dreams in your lifetime. And you may get 1 a month. Who knows? But this is not some regular occurrence. Spiritual dreams. Some dreams come from your spiritual intelligence and constitute a message to you from the spiritual realm. God often used dreams in the Bible to communicate with his people or to trouble their enemies. So when a dream is vivid, colorful, impactful, and you still remember it after you wake up, that is possibly coming from your spiritual intelligence. And it is your spiritual essence, the part of you that God made, the part of you that was created with knowledge in it, is communicating something to you, or God is communicating something to you. And we've got here, God often used dreams in the Bible to communicate with his people or to trouble their enemies. Those dreams serve to inform, to confirm, to alert, to warn, to disturb, or to explain. In other words, those dreams are serving a purpose. Maybe there's some information about the future. There's a confirmation about something you are deciding. There's an alert, something for you to be aware of. There's a warning, something for you to avoid. It's disturbing, it's disrupting something that you are engaged in, or it's explaining. But that God uses them for various purposes. And these are spiritual dreams. They're not coming out of your subconscious, they're coming out of your spiritual intelligence. So how do you interpret those dreams? Here's the formula. Number 1, you look for and note the elements in the dream. If you've had a dream that's been reoccurring, or that was so vivid that you actually remember it in detail, then you must look for the elements. Remember, there were numbers, there were plants, there were animals, there were utensils, there were persons, there were all of these elements in Joseph's interpretation of dreams. You want to look at what are the elements, okay? If there are dominant colors, if there are numbers involved, if there are animals involved, if there are elements involved, wind, fire, earth, if there are jewels and metals involved, You actually, if there are particular people involved, you want to make note of those elements, because the dream might not be about those people, because those people are also symbols. They represent something. So I've had people say to me, Bishop, I had this dream. You was in the dream, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. Well, the issue is not who am I, but what do I represent to you? In many cases, I represent to some people God, spirituality, or authority, fatherhood. There's lots of things I represent. So it's not just who am I in the dream, but what do I represent? So when you see certain people in your dream, it's not necessarily that the dream is about them and you, it's about what they represent to you, because this is all symbolic language. So you want to note the elements in the dream. Number two, you want to look up the biblical meaning of each element. Look up the biblical meaning of each element. Now, I could tell you go to this source and that source, but I'm not going to tell you that, because I've written the biblical meaning of elements in my manual, and it's everything. There's biblical colors, biblical numbers, biblical minerals and metals. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. He saw a statue of a man made up of 4 metals. And then he saw stone. I mean, these all have symbolic meanings. So we got all the metals of the Bible. It's just on and on. We put it together in the manuals. But if you don't get them, if you don't join my course and get the manual, then you can start Googling these things. But you need to look up the biblical meaning of each element in your dream. Number three, you need to pull the pieces together into one story. In other words, once you actually realize what each element represents, you're going to begin to have the pieces of your puzzle that you can put together, and you'll begin to see a story. And you're going to begin to notice that actually God is informing me, confirming to me, alerting me, warning me, disturbing a plan, or explaining something to me through this dream. And you'll be able to do that for others, who tell you, I've been having this reoccurring dream. I don't know what it means. And for some people, their reoccurring dream seems bad, right? In some cases, the reoccurring dream is coming out of their subconscious mind because they anticipate bad in the future. And therefore, the subconscious is looking for confirmation, linking everything to create those confirmations. But in some cases, there is an alert or a warning. So you want to begin to look into those things, and you want to be able to understand them. And what I do when someone tells me, I've had this dream, it's a reoccurring dream, or it's a dream I can't forget, is I tell them, is I listen to the dream and I look for elements. And as I begin to see the elements, because I have a kind of understanding of what various things mean, I can now say, I see the story. The pieces are fitting together, and I can see what this dream is saying to you. So as you begin to live the spiritual life, you will notice things that others take for granted. These things will speak to you to inform, alert, advise, and encourage you, not just in your dreams, but even in your experience. So I've been into places where I've noticed numbers, I've noticed colors, I've noticed items of furniture, and I thought, and because I've understood the biblical significance of those things, I've thought, this is a good place to be, or I need to be a bit more watchful and listen more carefully and qualify what these people are going to say, because I'm noticing things that are giving me warning.
Hi there. Bishop Wayne Malcolm is known as the business bishop who works with kingdom entrepreneurs, professionals, influencers, and creators alike to increase their social influence and to monetize their personal brands. But why is that important? It's important because this is now the fastest way to wealth and the new path to prosperity. As you know, there currently exists a growing deficit of trust between buyers and sellers. We now prefer to buy from the people we know, like, and trust. Becoming known, liked, and trusted in your field will do more to increase your sales and take your business to the next level. This is now possible for anyone because digital territory is now affordable. Digital tools are now available. Digital sales are now universal. There are 4 steps to becoming known, liked, and trusted enough for people to choose you and your services over a cold, faceless, and impersonal brand. 1. Focus on your own field of fun, favor, and fortune. That is, your area of excellence, expertise, and personal experience. 2. Establish your visibility, credibility, and authority in that field. This means becoming a celebrity in your circle and a big name in your game. 3. Make your own market, create a unique niche, attract the right audience, and take over a digital territory. 4. Populate your field with products and services, offers and opportunities, events and experiences. Once you have a committed crowd and a faithful following, you will become a key person of influence and a trusted name in the game. This elite masterclass and its associated self-study resources will show you exactly how to perform each of these steps. The Name Equity Secrets is a masterclass on the new way to wealth. A link for more details or to purchase your ticket is in the description below this video. Don't miss it for anything. Sign up today and you'll thank me later.
Hey there, entrepreneurs! If you enjoy the teachings of Bishop Wayne Malcolm, I've got something amazing for you. Introducing the New Breed Community, an exclusive online platform for kingdom-conscious entrepreneurs, professionals, investors, and creators. This isn't just a community, it's a movement where we discuss and explore kingdom concepts. Here, kingdom-minded people connect, share, learn, and grow together. Inside, you'll find exclusive content from Bishop Wayne Malcolm, including special sessions just for members. And the best part? It's free to join. The New Breed Community sits on the Heartbeat platform, where Bishop Wayne Malcolm is excited to meet you online. Join us for weekly Q&A sessions with Bishop Wayne and get exclusive insights that can transform your life. Love to read? Join our book club to feed your mind and spirit. Got a prayer request? Post it and let's lift each other up. Have a testimony? Share how God's goodness is shining in your life. We're more than just a community, we're a movement. Discover the powerful relationship between your profession and your purpose. Join us now on the Heartbeat platform. Connect with us and let's grow together. Bishop Wayne Malcolm and the New Breed Community are waiting for you. So what are you waiting for? Hit that join button and step into a world of connection and growth. A warm welcome awaits you. See you on the inside.